Epic, amazing, phenomenal, beautiful, sensation, super day for videocelebritynews.com. My name is Craig Metrowich. We are now doing the in-depth interview. We did an intro earlier on, which you can go and look at facebook.com/Metrowich. I've got with me, sharing today, some inspiration, some experience, Alistair John Selleck. He's epic in his own right. He's wearing some epic gear, which is going to be part of the interview. So let's take a walk together here, Alistair, and start in the beginning. You've got a financial background. We've known each other for about 30 years. And what I want you to share in this part of the interview is the journey. First of all, let's start with relevance. In the background here, we've got beautiful, spectacular, massive sets. And we're going to talk about storm chaser versus storm avoider. How does that relate to your financial experience?
Well, the financial markets delivered an incredible storm in 2008. It was like 10-meter swells with gale force winds. So
that's a good example.
Yeah. So you know that's something. When something like that happens, you need to de-risk your portfolios. You need to focus on survival, preservation of capital, as opposed to trying to shoot the lights out.
And also sorts things out, am I right? You know, from a competitive point of view, it ruffles the feathers of the market.
A lot of people went out of business as a result of that. So,
So was that probably part of your biggest, if I talk about the storm side of it, you know, storm chaser versus storm avoider, is knowing how to get through those storms, financial storms,
very much so. And when you've been in the markets for a long enough time, you realize that everything works in cycles. Obviously things change as the crises change, but crises repeat themselves. So
correct.
You got to ride out the cycle and
ride out the storms.
Soon calm returns, and then once the dust is settled, so to speak, then you sort of pick up the pieces and try and work out what the new crisis is that you've got to avoid.
So if I ask you career-wise, challenge-wise, would that be, Craig, that would have been one of the massive storms we got through? Would that be a good example?
Yeah,
all right.
Very much
let's talk highs. What are some of the recent highs? And let's walk and talk. What are some of the recent highs you've actually experienced as far as positioning, you know, just your career, i.e. the actuarial background that you've got, financial background? What is, you know, some of the things you want to share as far as a high?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, doing a management buyout of my company that I'd started in 2005, we bought it out in 2012. It was a very, very tricky decision to make, very daunting, sort of, there's so many pros and cons to a decision like that, but it was an incredible experience.
And what were the numbers like, just for our audience? Me being a business coach and inspirational speaker, it's always cool to bring some numeric values to it. So give me an idea of, you know, Craig, it was this type of portfolio, the market that we focused on. Just give us some numeric numbers.
Yeah, well, I mean, the hedge fund was about 440 million rand large when we did our management buyout. So it gears 12 times. So, you know, when you multiply that by 12, and that's the kind of exposure that you're taking in the markets. But I think just getting back to the highlights, you know, until you've actually bought your own company back, so to speak.
Yes.
You know, there's so much that goes behind something like that. It took me about a year to finalize the logo.
And the due diligence around everything, processes and numbers and systems, and
there's so many things you take for granted when you work in a big corporate. We had to negotiate leases. We had to deal with office expenses, stationery, you know, just everything. So, I mean, it was an amazing experience.
Hang on, so what you're saying is that's true entrepreneurship, am I right?
It is.
At its core is going through all those different steps to get the business to shine. And how's the business now? Tell us about that.
It's been sold to Katie's Asset Management. That's where I work now. So Katie's has been in the turnaround cycle since about 2015, and we're working hard to get Katie's back to where it was in the heady days before the Able crisis. So it's been great. We've survived, and now we're hoping to reap the benefits of the last sort of 2.5 years of working to turn that shop around. So it's been a fantastic experience, and if I hadn't done my management buyout, I wouldn't have ended up in the position that led to the deal where we sold back to Katie. So risk.
What you're telling me is, let's go back to epic So just like sports, extreme sports, is managing the risk, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Let's
I mean,
talk a
when
little
you-
bit.
when
Let's
you
talk a
stand
little
on-
more, yeah.
On the beach at Hakkat and you're watching those mast high waves breaking.
Yeah, and you're thinking,
you
why
gotta
should I
decide.
go out? Should I go out?
Yeah, is it really that light on the inside? And then you look at the guys who've got so much wind on the outside, and you sit there and you count the sets and you wait and
Yeah,
I mean-
I count the 7th set and hope that's the one you can go out.
And usually I go out on the 5th and then get nailed by the 7th. But it's that thing where you just got to assess. I mean, there have been times where I've been to Hakkat. It was actually this season, our first sail of the season. I went to Hakkat and it was incredible, the conditions. But it was
Scary, massive, just like the market at times.
and I hadn't windsurfed in 3 or 4 months, and it's like, do I really want to go out at Mast
Not a
High
good
Hakkat?
idea. Not a good idea.
So instead I came to Big Bay and lived to tell
The story, eh?
So,
Right, let's get to the relevance of why the theme of this interview is around epic. And we're referring to epic as far as epic cycling. And you had I was going to say the honor and privilege, but you had the pain and suffering from what I understand
there's
of
lots of
being
pain
in
and
the epic.
suffering, but I mean, you summed it up. It is such an incredible privilege to participate in that race. And
How many
it's
teams were there? I think you said it was about 600 teams.
660 entrants this year. I think it's the biggest field they've ever had.
Yeah. Right.
And that's two-man or two-person teams. And yeah, the whole thing is you have to make it to the finish line with your partner,
So-
and that's 7 days. I think the total distance was 650 kilometers, and climbing about 18,000.
So that's massive. That's absolutely.
Meters,
I
yeah.
mean, that's an unbelievable endurance race from what you're telling me.
No, it's
And that's hence the reason, by the way, I'm wearing this green, brilliant, bright head protection. Not to actually capture my brain, which probably I
it
should.
hasn't been used much.
It hasn't
okay?
been moved. Yeah, he actually teased me. He said, Craig, the next time,
We
go
need
and
to get you on the
actually
mountain."
put it in some mud or something like that, you know. Right, let's do a turnaround so everybody can see the beautiful setting that we have here in Cape Town, South Africa. Amazing, really a stunning place. For our tourists, come on, you kind of come and visit us. We're friendly, we're loving people. The politics is also stabilizing. That's the good news. We had some recent politicians doing the electioneering and it's stable, so that's the good news. And as you can see, this is certainly paradise. We're going to flesh out a few more things in the interview before we wrap up. So where to next? Let's talk about your goals, your aspirations going forward. Where would you like to see yourself? If I interviewed you in, let's say, 2-3 years time, you know, kind of, Craig, this is where I see ourselves going business-wise as well as your personal aspirations.
Yeah, so look, I mean, sport-wise, I'd like to have at least another one epic under the belt. I'm thinking of 2019 to do that again.
Brilliant.
I'd still
Brilliant.
like to be windsurfing.
Yeah, our
and-
healthy addictions.
Yeah, and still want to be flying the kite every now and then.
And kids, you want your kids to basically be as good as you are as far as sport, yes or no? Or they're
I don't know.
academically smarter than us, probably.
Look, yeah, the kids they're doing well at school, but I think with kids you got to give them the opportunity and let them find their own way. So provide the toys and see which ones they decide to play with. Eh?
Any
So-
pearls of wisdom to share? Anything pearls of wisdom? So summary, let's make it, so here's my question. We got 5 seconds to go,
Yes.
and your kid's saying, Dad, in 5 seconds, can you share anything with me? And you know, anything high, any words
Well-
of wisdom, any pearls of wisdom, any pearls of pain, suffering and wisdom.
I think instantaneous gratitude or gratification is a fallacy. I think you need to focus on the journey, and you need to focus on your long-term progression.
So that instant millionaire, instant success,
or-
instant this, it doesn't work that way. Not in life.
A
Eh?
colleague of mine loved saying, we had an overnight success. It took us 5 years to achieve.
Correct.
But try and enjoy the journey and understand that you're getting from A to B and not necessarily in a straight line. So
Well,
might
that's
have to
why I can relate to that, because with Video Celebrity News, when I started it out, obviously it was very difficult to get people involved, their contribution, interview celebrities and superstars and world champions. And please go and look at those interviews, because we've had ordinary people that have shone extraordinary in their talents. We've then had the privilege of having entrepreneurs on. We've got somebody like Alistair John Selleck, who's got a financial background, but also is a sport addict, healthy addictions that he's sharing with us. My point being, it's so wonderful to see people slogging away, because that's what it takes, eh? I mean, even I've had massive lows, massive highs, but when you have a crystal clear purpose and you know why you're doing these things, then today
You toughen out. Eh?
you toughen out. Then today stays an epic day. This is going to be a wrap up. Alistair John Selleck, thank you very much for your time shared on our show. Please go and watch the intro on facebook.com/Metrowich. This is for videocelebritynews.com. Share the light, share the good news, share the positivity. Just share some epic experiences with us.
Great
That's
stuff,
the wrap.
Craig. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.